Hey guys, welcome to another episode of CPR Instructor Affiliates. I'm here today with Joe Cooper from Elevate. He's a CPR instructor, been instructor for about 10 years, and also has a marketing business that is really targeted towards CPR industry and helping people grow their companies and answer questions that they have about how to be successful and to market well. So, Joe, thanks for coming on and talking today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Andrew. Really appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. So I gave a small intro, but was there anything else that you wanted to add about yourself and what you do or your background?
So yeah, so you gave me a great intro on the Elevate portion, which is helping CPR businesses and marketing. But as you said, I have been a CPR instructor. I have my own CPR business. It's called the First Aid Guy. We run out of Vermont, New Hampshire, mainly, and I've been doing that for about 10 years. I spent a lot of time in the Coast Guard for 10 years. So really that's where I did a lot of learning and got a lot of my emergency response and emergency services training. And so just really enjoy bringing that to light.
Yeah, awesome. Well, so we're going to be talking a lot today about specifically marketing, which I find to be
Yeah.
one of the most common reoccurring questions that people have. I mean, we have our training center has several couple hundred instructors, and that's probably the most asked question is how can I get word out about my company more? When you look through the Facebook groups and other forums, that's a reoccurring question, and every industry has its own hurdles and common topics that are talked about. Why do you think in the CPR industry marketing tends to be the one of the large hot topics that people just struggle with?
Great question. So, I mean, I don't think it's unique to the CPR industry. I think it definitely is something that a lot of industries face and struggle with. And what I think it really boils down to is planning, right? I don't think a lot of people put in their marketing plan, in their financials, any room for marketing. I think people start up a business and they think, hey, I'm going to start up a business, and because I built it, people are going to come.
Yeah.
And so really planning is in my opinion, the number one fundamental thing that people fail to do. It's not about the marketing. It's not about the advertising. It's not about the strategies, although there are unique ways of doing a lot of those things in each individual niche. But the reality is if you don't plan to grow your business, then there's really nothing that can be done. There's no magic pill, if you will, right, for marketing. And I think we've all kind of experienced that, where we've started up and we're like, wow, I spent all this money on certification and on equipment and on this and on that. And then all of a sudden at the end of the day, you're like, man, I just have no money to build a website. So I'm going to go to GoDaddy and I'm going to build the cheapest website possible. And then, that is your brand, right? That is your brand that you build out for yourself. So my number one thing that I'd say to have people stop struggling is pull back a little bit on other things and put some money into the marketing mouth, because that's going to help feed you in the future.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think, it's interesting because a lot of people don't plan for the marketing, like you say. They get into teaching CPR because they see what they perceive to be a need. And I think in most areas, there is a legitimate need for more CPR instructors, but their need is anecdotal. It's based on their close network of friends and acquaintances who have been like, man, I have a hard time finding classes, or man, if you became an instructor, I would totally come to you. And so they think that, oh, there's a huge need because 20 people have vocalized that they need a CPR class. And so they become a CPR instructor. They run through their 20 friends, or however many people have told them that, that they need a class. And then now they're stuck with trying to figure out, okay, how do I get more business? And so that's not the immediate thing. It sounds ludicrous, but the way the mind works, they're thinking, they're hearing all these voices, even though it's only 20 people, and they're thinking, there's a massive need, and all I have to do is just let people know that I'm teaching classes, and
Right.
and it's not that easy.
Not that simple, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
So, where do when let me look at this. So what part, I mean, you mentioned funding, but what part of the marketing process is most difficult for people? Is it the funding, or is it the lack of experience with content creation, or finding the right channels to market to? I mean, what is the largest challenge within this particular issue and topic?
So I'm going to answer this question with yes, yes, and yes, right? So like content creation is absolutely a challenge.
Hmm.
Channels to market to, a challenge. Like we're in a unique industry where we market both to B2C market and we do B2B market, right? So it's unique, and you have to figure out which one to do and how to do it, when to do it, when the right time to do it is, and what your actual market is. And the messaging that goes around that's the third. Yes, messaging is really, really tough. Here's the fundamental thing that people struggle with. It's not content creation, it's not messaging, it's not channels. If you peel that stuff back, what people really fundamentally don't do is they don't first get their target audience. You just talked about recently about, finding a need, and the audience that you've been around, those 20 people, and you're hearing that voice of a need, right? But
Yeah.
then what people don't do is that they don't look more broad, and then they don't look deep into that broad category of a target audience. So a lot of people don't know what we call in the marketing world is an avatar, right? And that is your defined audience. You don't dialed that in, and because you haven't dialed that in, your marketing strategy is incredibly generic, and it doesn't really fit a good category of people, right? So one of the things I'm doing, because I'm a CPR instructor, as a marketer, right, and as a consultant for marketing, is I'm marketing to CPR instructors because
Yep.
I know that business, right? I could market to anybody, right? I could market to the local gyms, I could market to dentists, I could market to anybody. But I've chosen a niche that hones me in, dials me in, because I know the industry and I know that I can help in this industry, and I'm not facing giants, right? So I think the number one thing that people struggle with is really defining and dialing in their audience. Once they have that, the other stuff truly is fairly simple, because now you know who you're marketing to, so you know what you're going to actually write, and you know the content you want to address and everything else. A lot of times people go into the CPR world and they're like, yeah, my target audience is people. Well, people is not a target audience,
Yeah.
right?
That's the
And
question. Like, I say, well, who's target audience? Like, well, everybody needs CPR, so everyone is my.
right.
No, let's rephrase the question. Your target audience is who is willing to pay you for CPR training,
that,
and
that's right. That's right. That's right.
difference between
Yeah,
who you get and who's willing to pay you, and you need to realize that it's
totally different. That's right. You got it exactly. So totally different. And then once you have that honed in, then you can decide what makes you different, right? What
yeah,
makes me different than you? What makes you different than the other guy down the street? And then the differentiation is really what you focus on when it comes to messaging and stuff like that. You want to be different, right? You can't be the same as any instructor. Otherwise, you're a commodity and you're going to be in price wars for everybody. But there's a reason why some people can charge $50 for CPR, and some people can command $120 for CPR.
yeah.
And that makes the difference. Location is one element of that, but
Mhm.
also the differentiation, your target market, how you're going out there and how you're doing that. That's the other element to it that really stands out to me, makes a difference. So
For sure. And something too, I think that's important to realize is, your value proposition, which we kind of are talking about here,
yep,
and you need to recognize too that what you consider to be, once you identify your target market, what you consider to be valuable and what your target market considers to be valuable could be two different things. And so it's important to like put yourself in their shoes and listen to what they're saying, because if you identify the target market but then you're saying, oh, all of our instructors are professionally dressed or whatever the case may be, the target market could care less about professionalism. What they might care about more is like how responsive you are and how fast they're going to get cards or something else, so
that's right.
it's important to align the values with the target market, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Great point.
Yep.
Yep.
um and two, talk about this, we see a lot of instructors that are out there offering a lot of different things. So they have CPR training, and then they do babysitting classes and lifeguard classes and things like that. And every time you add a product or a service, you're adding a new target market, right? And so then you're having to create a new voice and a message, and that can be a challenge as well. Maybe you can speak to that a
Yes.
little bit in a word of caution and wisdom on how people should select what products and services to offer, and
Right.
at what point they need to stop.
Right. So that's a great point. I have a lot of clients who actually come to me and they say like, hey, I need to make more money. And so there's really only three ways of making more money in any business, right?
Yeah.
There's get more customers, right? So you can acquire, you can raise your prices, or you can resell things more often. Those are the only three ways of doing it. And what a lot of people focus on is, well, I'm not getting anybody into my CPR classes, so let me expand my product portfolio. Let me expand my services portfolio, and really let me dilute my margin. And the funny thing is, the people who are doing that are you know, they're doing it with the right intention, right? They're trying to grow their business, but the reality is they're diluting and they're distracting their time and their energy into what they can do. So like if one thing doesn't work, it's going to be like a popcorn game. I'm going to move over to the next thing. It's almost like whack-a-mole, right? You're playing whack-a-mole, like thing comes up, you want to whack it. So they pop in this new product, which costs money to pop it in, and then they end up getting no money off of it. And it really distracts their message, and it really distracts their target audience. It goes back to that whole target audience. Who are you looking to do? So I would tell people, I mean, especially as solo instructors who are just starting out, you know, even to the point if you've got like 4 or 5 or 6 people in your instructor, you know, camp, and you're starting up maybe a training site, or you're starting to get ready to do kind of a training facility through Ashy or somebody else. I mean, really, really think about the products that you have, because it's confusing for the customers, the potential customers you have as you prospect. It's confusing for yourself, and it creates a world of automation, hassle, and headache. And if you're not infrastructured for it, right? Like as you grow, if
Yep.
you're not infrastructured to scale, then and you don't have all those systems in place, trust me, putting another 5 or 6 services on top of that just really is not going to help people get where they want to go. I mean, I would tell you that if you don't know, or you're really trying to grow your business, I'd say stop and offer one thing. Stop and offer one thing.
Yeah.
And get that one thing honed in, right? And then you can offer another thing, and then offer another thing. Because as they say in the marketing world, right, new level, new devil. If you can get to the point you can market all these things and you're infrastructured for it, it just brings its own set of problems along with it that you have to start to work through. So, you know, I would just say for anyone who's out there listening to this, kind of, if you're newer, if you're a startup, if you're small, right, then stop 1 to 2 things tops, and then hone in on those things. Get your market right, and then you'll make progress. You'll do it really quickly.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. And the other thing too that is dangerous when you add more services or products is the loss of quality. Because if you're doing a bunch of
Yes.
things and you aren't able to perfect your skill, that also occurs. And so I think about not to dog on people that do babysitter classes, but you're not teaching babysitter classes as often as you are a CPR class. So naturally, you're going to feel a lot more comfortable. It's going to be a lot more hammered out in the CPR class than the babysitter class, because you just don't have as many iterations and times doing it. And so that can also have a negative impact on you, because somebody goes to take a babysitter class. It's okay. It's not bad, but it's okay. And then when your name comes up and that person who took the babysitter class, you know, talks about, you're like, yeah, it was an okay company. And they all of a sudden blanket your company as just being okay. Your CPR classes could be fantastic, but they have that experience in the okay class, this other product or service. And so it can create some PR issues. And then I think too about SEO. It was a nightmare for us because back in the early days, we offered tons of different classes, wilderness medicine and lifeguarding and all these things. And when you try to talk about confusion, not only are your clients going to be confused about what you really do, but also it confuses Google, and Google can't figure out, is this a CPR company? Is this a lifeguarding company? We don't know how to rank them. And so then you
Right.
don't rank for anything. And that can be pretty judgmental too. So
Yep.
man, some
And
lessons
then you end up
learned.
paying for your ranking. Yep. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Anyway, uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's great. That's great feedback. So what do you consider are some of the top marketing tactics for CPR instructors right now? I mean, low hanging fruit, maybe they don't have a huge budget. What are some priorities for them that have the biggest ROI, return on investment?
Yep. So another great question, right? So there's two things I'm going to talk about that are the best tactics in my opinion. Number one is automation, right? So automation before delegation. Automation costs you less money in the long run.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you are sitting there going, man, I just, I'm tired of getting in at the end of the night and finding all these leads that I have to follow up with and do all this stuff, it is time to invest in an automation suite and a platform, right? And we offer one for us, right? So, and we offer one that's really powerful for the CPR instructor industry. But I tell you, just really, whether you use ours or whether you use somebody else's, that automation is the way to go. Automation can get complex, but if you know the processes and you've honed down on the things, you want to we call it automate your awesome, right?
Yeah.
And so like if you do something well, if you've got a great email template or whatever, there is no reason you have to hammer that thing out every single time. Even if you cut and copy it, it's a manual process. There's email campaign softwares out there. There's SMS marketing software that's out there. But the reality is that it comes down to this: automate, 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 and do that before you delegate. So because if your automations are overwhelming, then you start to delegate, and then you can delegate the automation, and that's how you scale up. Okay, and then the second point that I would say, which is really the other one, is you got to focus on your biggest margin, right? And so for a lot of CPR instructors, right, they get into the thing and much like I was when I first started, I'm like, hey, I'm going to go after the community classes. I'm going to go after the consumer.
Yeah.
And the reality is that it is painful to fill up classes, right? I mean, and then if you get a class where one person signs up, you can either A, ruin your brand by telling them, sorry, I have to cancel because I've only got one person signed up. B, which means they're going to go somewhere else. So you've lost that business and they're going to talk to somebody else. So you mean you've lost more business. B, you can run that class, which is going to cost you more money than you're making, right? So like the idea of the consumer class is really, I call that kind of like, it's icing on the cake. You should run them. You should run them at a frequency where you're filling them up more often. And you should run them when you start to have a brand. Where people need to focus their ROI right now is on business to business, because you can go into a business and you can hit all kinds of businesses. And I'm just going to list a few just to throw it out there, right? Contractors, daycares, nursing homes, dentists, manufacturing plants, schools, churches, hotels, family medical practices, chiropractors, any of these businesses, right? And I listed a ton. I guarantee you, if you go search them out, you can find these businesses in your area. You need to hone in and focus on touching those people, reaching out to those people, and then putting in place contracts with them to train their staff, because they get benefit from that, right? Their benefit for their staff is A, they get insurance breaks, right? Huge benefit to the business owner because they get huge insurance breaks. And B, right, you yourself into a contract, so you've got guaranteed revenue coming in over and over and over again. And there are different strategies you can go into that, but the business to business market for the CPR instructors is where you're going to end up getting the most bang for your buck, because the third reason is what we just talked about, is the opposite of a community class. And that is you're going to end up going and filling more classes. So like when you go to a business, they're going to generally have at least 3, 4, 5 you know, people in the class.
Yep.
And when you're constrained right now under COVID, where you're limited to, like, most people can do up to about 6 people from a physical distancing perspective in their classes now. I mean, you really don't have the same level of margin that you would have in the past. So focusing in on businesses right now, especially during this time, is in my opinion, the right approach. And it's been very, very successful in getting a lot of people some return on their investment quickly.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that. And also, when you're going out and knocking on doors and trying to get business, you got to keep in mind the pipeline. So, if
Mm,
somebody just had a class a month ago, that business is probably not going to be interested in getting another class for another 2 years. So, what you could do is focus on companies that aren't required to have training, like churches or attorney offices or places like that, who you can come in and pitch them the idea and they've never thought about it before, and you get the business right away,
yeah,
as opposed to if you go into regulated industries like doctors' offices and contractors and places like that, it's hit or miss. Now, not that you shouldn't. We employ a tactic where we'll reach out to people, and if they tell us, oh, we just got certified 3 months ago, we put it down and we follow up with them 2 years from now, and we try to catch them before they need to renew the next time. But
right.
so that's good to fill the pipeline with those people, but you can go after more immediate business by going after folks who've never been trained and pitching the idea, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's two ways that you can pitch a business an idea, right? You can pitch it as a per seat contract, right? So you've got per seat. You can also pitch it as kind of a fixed price, um, firm fixed price contract where you go in and you help them out whenever they have maybe staff turnover or anything else that happens. So they're kind of on an annual contract, right? And there's a lot of businesses that will have to fix their costs, because if they get a lot of staff turnover, it can be very expensive for them. But
Yeah,
if they're a business that doesn't have a lot of staff turnover, then it's good for you. And
yeah,
so you can actually go in and help those businesses make those decisions. And as you learn more about what the business's needs are, you can, pivot your approach one way or the other and make sure that you have both kind of offerings in your portfolio. You're still targeting the business to business. So you're not diluting your message, right? But you can figure out what the best approach is to win the sale. And at the end of the day, that's what you're trying to do is prospect and get them to sign a contract, whether it's a per seat contract or an annualized contract.
yeah, yep, that's true. What do you when we look at marketing, again, talking about funding, how do people know when to outsource that and when to try to do it themselves and do like a bootstrap um, type of marketing approach? How,
Great question. Yeah. So so the message I kind of like to give is, what's your passion, right? If marketing is not your passion, if CPR instruction is your passion, or emergency service is your passion, especially if you're kind of in the solopreneurship, you're a newer business, you don't have the funds or the capital to pull in somebody who's a professional and bring them onto staff or bring them onto your team, you should immediately go to the outsourcing, right? So because you do not need to learn every aspect of the business if you want to grow the business.
yeah,
You will end up distracting yourself from the things that are important, and you'll end up distracting others that are around you, and they'll just get confused, and so you just won't get business. And that's what a lot of people end up getting stuck with, because back to our first point, right? If you don't plan for marketing,
yeah,
then you end up doing it yourself, and there is a cost to doing it yourself. Don't don't be fooled by the fact that just because there's no outlay of cash for doing it yourself, that there's no cost to it, right? So there is a definite cost in your time, in your investment, in your learning, in your experience, in your performance. Those kind of things all matter, and people will burn themselves out very, very quickly if they don't do it. So my thing is, going back to, you should really, unless you are over $250,000 a year annualized,
mhm,
I would not even consider I wouldn't even consider thinking about an in-house marketer or trying to do it yourself,
Yeah.
because you just don't have the time, right? Because your money is made in classes, your money is made out there in contracts, and so you don't have the time to be sitting in how do I grow in other ways if you're under 250,000 a year in revenue, right? So let's just so that's kind of my point. So start there, under 250,000, you should be outsourcing it. Now, big question is, how much should I spend, right? How much should I be planning for, right? So the Small Business Administration says people who plan 5% of their annual revenue, under $5 million of revenue, generally stay where they're at. There's no growth, right? 5%. So if you're making $100,000, you should be planning for 5% of that, right? Which is $5,000.
Yeah.
Okay. And that will keep you at about $100,000, right? That's if you're happy with that, like, again, going back to your goals and everything else, if you're happy with that, if that's your business model and you're comfortable there, hey, stick with that, right? You might even be able to pull back a little bit before percent, get yourself a 1% margin on that, and then you make a little bit more money. At the end of the day, 5% is the lowest number you should be planning into your budget for advertising and marketing.
Okay.
The Small Business Association then says 7 to 8% is what you should be planning on if you're looking to just grow naturally, like grow and sustain kind of a thing. So you're going to grow, but I would tell you that in a business that's under $250,000, 10% of your money should be bucketized and earmarked for that advertising and marketing. So again, if you're making $100,000, $10,000 of that annually should be going so that you can grow your business in high single, sometimes double digit margin and profit, right? So that's really what I would say from a planning perspective for people out there listening. Kind of, if you're making under 250K, absolutely get rid of it. Get rid of the marketing to a marketing agency, and then you should be planning in your budget. And if you don't have a budget, mistake number one, right? And so, and you should be planning absolutely for 10% at least. I would say 10%. Like I said, the Small Business Administration says on average 7 to 8% is where people are when they want to grow. But in this business with such a small number, you gotta put a little bit more so that your growth targets are up.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's super helpful. That's those are numbers that I've heard as well. I mean, if you're really wanting to be serious about growth, 10%, up to, even 12%, I've heard. So
Yeah.
Something along there is pretty realistic. And like you said, you need to be budgeting, but you also need to know your numbers. And so if you're running a business out of a bank account and it's just like money in and money out, and you're not using an accounting software, you can't make these business decisions like marketing or other things. There's I like pounded into people. You got to know your numbers, and you can't know your numbers. You're just like watching your bank running it out of a bank account, or what like a lot of people do, running it out of their PayPal account. You got to actually have an accounting system so that you can make these important decisions about marketing, and not just how much money to spend, but also to be able to watch out to make sure you're not spending too much money. People a lot of times just run based on their gut, and that can get you into some as well. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, Joe, I really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for your time. I think that kind of wraps it up, but I do want to let people know how they can reach you if they have more questions. So maybe we can get an email and a phone number.
Yeah. So if people want to ask me questions, I'm always available on Facebook. Look me up, Joseph Cooper. Email is joe@profitwithelevate.com. It's joe@profitwithelevate.com. And then if you want to give me a buzz, my cell phone number is 240-444-0049. And I really enjoyed it, Andrew. Thank you so much for having me. And this has been amazing.
Cool.
Really appreciate it. And I hope.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I really hope that I'm looking forward to seeing everyone else's business grow off of the information that they learned here. So
Yeah,
thanks for the
absolutely.
opportunity.
If you guys, I'll take that information. I'll put it in the description below. And then also, if you have questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and we'll try to answer that or pass it off to Joe, and he can answer it if I can't. So thank you guys. We appreciate it, Joe. Appreciate you, man, and hope you have a good rest of your day.
All right. Thanks so much. See you guys.
Yeah.